so I moved it. I'm much more comfortable this way. So welcome to worship with me through the Word. This morning I'd like to talk through the book of Ruth. It's a story that's based in the time of the judges. If you're with us here, grab your Bibles, open the book of Ruth. Page 222 is the beginning of the story. We're going to do a crazy thing and read basically the entire book. It's only 4 chapters long. But you've got to really go with this story. So, I'm going to do something I've done a couple of times here, but it's somewhat unusual for me, and I think pretty unusual for pastors in general. I'm going to read the story, and I'm going to comment along the way, just so you know what's going on. And I'll make lots of comments, because that's what I do. But hopefully, Lord willing, you guys can catch up, keep up. If I start running away from you, start flag me down, yell at me something, throw a hand up, I'll stop for a moment and help you catch up. Really, I want you to catch up. I want you to be here. I want you to be engaged. I've only got 13 pages, but I did write the whole text of Ruth in there. So the whole text, the whole book of Ruth is in those 13 pages. So it's probably only 12 or so they have to deal with. You know. So the book starts, chapter 1, verse 1, in the days when the judges ruled. Time for the first comment. Actually, time for audience participation. When you think of the days of the judges, the book of Judges in the Bible, right before Ruth is the book of Judges. What do you think of when you think of the book of Judges? Trouble. Disobedience. What's that? Trouble with a capital T? That's not good music, man. That's good. Sorry, disobedience. What else? Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Boy, the book, that's good. Good graph. The book of Judges it's a dark time in the history of Israel. In chapter 3, verse 7, we read, "And the people of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and the Ashtaroth." They forgot God. So Judges happens after the Exodus. They've been pulled out of the promised land. They've been pulled out of exile into the promised land. They've taken over, that's Joshua. They've kind of taken over the promised land. Joshua dies eventually. And then they don't want a king. Well, God doesn't want to have a king. It's God ruling. And so they hang out there and, well, they do stupid things. They go off and worship the gods of the lands where they're living instead of the one true God. And God brings calamity upon them, usually by armies or other countries coming and oppressing them. And they cry out to God, and then God sends a judge, a ruler, a savior, a redeemer to redeem them from that oppression. And they worship God for a while. And then we read this in chapter 3, verse 12. "And the people of Israel again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord." And that one phrase is repeated 7 times in the book of Judges. Calamity, God's oppressing, God is sending judgment. I'm going to cry out to God. God saves me. I can go back over here and do the same thing all over again. God saves me. I can go back and just see this pattern. Anyway, this is the book of Judges throughout. And then, as Phyllis said, the last words of the book of Judges are these. "In those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes." This is the time when the book of Ruth is set. In this time, when there's no king, there's no one to rule over Israel, except for God, who's supposed to be ruling, but let's give up on that for a minute. From a human perspective, there's no one ruling. Everyone did exactly what they thought was okay. Dark and terrible time. And the question comes in the book of Judges that comes to me. Here's the question: who will save Israel? We've seen judges come and come and come and save Israel from oppression over and over and over again. But Israel continues to need a Savior. Who will be that Savior? In that time, there was a famine in the land. A man of Bethlehem of Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab. He and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech. There's some good names in here, by the way. And the name of his wife was Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. Pause for a moment. Ephrathites, an Ephrathite, Ephrathah is Bethlehem, the same place. Just throw it out there. Book of Genesis somewhere I remember looking at it, but I can't remember. There you go. These took, but Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These 2 took Moabite wives. One was Orpah, and the other was Ruth. They lived there about 10 years. Both Mahlon and Chilion died, so the woman was left with her 2 sons, without her 2 sons, and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law to return to the country of Moab, from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on their way to return to the land of Judah. How do widows survive? Charity. Okay. Traditionally, through their children who help support them. Right? So a widow has children, the children support, the male children support, because that's a patriarchal society. So for 3 widows living in one household in the land of Moab, desperate poverty. I mean, hopeless situation, right? I'm a widow from in a foreign country. This is Naomi. A widow in a foreign country has lost her way of survival because she has no husband. Her sons die. She has no one to take care of her. So she has herself and her 2 daughters-in-law. She hears through the grapevine, or through the wheat fields, that God has visited. The Lord has come and visited Israel, and there's food. The choice to return is not difficult at all for Ruth or for Naomi. It's not tough, right? I've got nothing here. There's nothing holding me here. My boys are dead. My husband's dead. He doesn't have a job. I don't have a job because I can have a job. Society, don't worry about knowing. So I'm going home. And I'm going to take my daughters-in-law with me. This sounds like a good idea. Let's all go home to my place where I know that God lives, that God is. Apparently, however, as he traveled, Naomi thought, you know what, this may not be a great idea, taking the girls with me. Right? I mean, yeah. A little geography. Israel, over here on this side, the Jordan River, right? Israel's over here. Moab is over here. If you remember the book of Numbers, Moab is where the guys that called Balaam to prophesy against Israel, those are Moabites. Not great people. Not nice. Anyway, that's important as we move on. Just throw it out there. So over verse 8, we're going to keep going. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go, return to your mother's houses. You notice the matriarchal language here? This is way outside that. That's okay. There is, Elimelech is told to be Naomi's husband. And now Naomi tells her daughters to go return to your mother's households. It's a matriarchal, that's interesting. Maybe not so interesting to you, but interesting to me. We'll move on. Go return to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. Lord, grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of your husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices, and they left. And they said to her, no, we will not return to your people. No, we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said to them, turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb that may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters, and go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, even if I should have a husband this night and bear sons, would you therefore wait until they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter for me, for your sake, that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. So Naomi has had some second thoughts here, right? Daughters-in-law, here's a logical argument for you to go home. Go back to your house where you grew up. Find a husband in Moab. Find a Moabite husband, find a nice man, and settle down and have some kids. Go back. There's no reason for you to go with me. Right? The tradition is if a man dies and leaves his wife without any children, then his brother would take and marry the wife and have children to bring on his line. That's the bishop's redeemer idea. There's no children, there's no brothers, right? The brothers are all toast. They're all gone. And Naomi is making this case saying, I'm not going to have any more children. I'm too old for that. Even if I wasn't too old for that, are you going to wait 20 years for this kid to grow up so you can marry him? That's absurd. Go back, go back, go back. They lifted up their voices again, and they wept. Verse 14. Then they lifted up their voices and they wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. This is Orpah saying, goodbye, mother, I'm going home. And it's Ruth saying, not a chance. I'm sticking with you. A commentator wrote, I read this week, said, the same cause induced Orpah to go and Ruth to remain. The fact, namely, that Naomi no longer had either son or husband. The one wished to become a wife again, the other to remain a daughter. For Orpah, it was very simple. I'm going to go home and become a wife. I'm going to live my life as I believe a life should be lived. I'm going to be happy with my husband and bear some kids and have a beautiful life. And I'm sure it was. Ruth said, it's not about my happiness, it's not about me having a husband, it's about me being a daughter, it's about me taking care of my mother. It's about me serving. I want to serve, I want to give. But it's the same circumstance that caused them both to make the decision. So, moving on. 15. And she said, this is Ruth, said to Naomi said to Ruth, see, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. It's a good case, isn't it? But Ruth said, do not urge me to leave or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. When I die, where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me also, and more also, even if anything but death parts me from you. And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more. This is covenant language. This is the language of covenant. This is language saying, my life is now stitched to your life. It's no longer about me and you, it's about us. Ruth says to Naomi, I don't care. I will give it all up. I will give up my place. I will give up everything I've ever known to go with you because my life is stitched to yours. My well-being is stitched to yours. If you go well, I will go well. If you go badly, I will go badly. This is where I belong. Covenant language, folks. This is the language of marriage. This is the language of God's covenant with Abraham. This is the language of covenant between two people. Where you go, I will go. And may God do it so much worse to me if I break this covenant. Covenant language. And it's very, very important here. Ruth also invokes the God of Yahweh, the name of God, the name of Yahweh. Interesting side note here that maybe if I show later, we'll see. Throughout the book, God is never mentioned by the narrator. Never, ever the entire book. The narrator never says God did this or that. In fact, in the entire book, God is never mentioned as the cause of anything. Except for God has caused me to be there. We just read a few minutes ago. But God is mentioned by the characters, and granted, the vast majority of the story is told in narrative. But the people mention God over and over again, and they use his covenant name, the name of Yahweh. Many, many, many times in the book, we see God mentioned as Yahweh. Anytime you see in your book, the Lord the little and Lord in small caps or all caps? That is the covenant name of God. That's Yahweh. Translated to the Lord in our Bible, English Bibles. If you read through the book of Ruth, you see it over and over and over again. And here, Ruth uses the covenant name of God. So Ruth has some understanding of God that she has learned now from Naomi and her family. So Naomi and her family apparently have been worshiping God, worshiping Yahweh, as they are in Moab, which is a good thing, right? So Ruth understands that this God of the covenant, this covenant God, covenant-keeping God, is the one I'm going to follow. I'm not going to follow the Baals and Ashtaroth and, what's the name, Molech. There's all kinds of great gods in Moab. Great gods. There's all kinds of folks to worship. But none is the true God, the one true God, the covenant-keeping God, Yahweh. Verse 19. So the two of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they came to Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the woman said, "Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara. The Almighty has dealt very bitterly. When I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when he has testified against me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" Some wordplay here. Naomi means pleasant, beautiful, pleasant, wonderful. Mara means bitter. So, why call me beautiful? Why call me great? Why call me wonderful when I am so bitter? When God has been bitter toward me. And God has caused me to be bitter. It's a strange thought here. Naomi here, she is really relying on her circumstance to create her identity. She feels God has dealt bitterly with her, and she says, "I'm bitter. Call me bitter. Call me an old bag." I don't know what the word is, but call me bitter because that's my true identity. That's what she's saying. My identity is bitterness. My identity is no longer pleasant. My identity is no longer with God. My identity is God has been rough with me. He has caused me to be bitter. So call me bitter. Her circumstance is informing her identity rather than the other way around. We'll come back to that thought a lot. So, Naomi returned, in verse 22. So Naomi returned, and Ruth with her, actually reading says talk on that. Then Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, returned with her to the country of Moab, from the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. This is, by the way, a good time to arrive, because barley harvest means you can actually glean, which comes in a big place. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. Isn't this a wonderfully written story? Isn't it beautiful? Sorry. I was listening to a guy talk, again, that guy's name now. Anyway, preacher guy. He was talking about Ruth, and he said, "I wish I didn't know the Bible as well as I do. So when I get to a book like Ruth, I truly grasp the beauty of the story." It's so easy as you read through this every year. You get these 4 chapters. It's one day if you're on a Bible read-through plan, right? If you're a one-year Bible, it's one day to get through Ruth, and you kind of miss the beauty of the story. It's just a beautifully written story. That's a way side note. I'm sorry. To be here all afternoon this way. Okay. Boaz. Name is Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field among the ears of grain after him in whose sight I found favor." And she said to her, "Go, my daughter." So she went out and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was the clan of Elimelech. All right, who believes in the sovereignty of God?
Amen.
Okay. Ruth happened upon the field belonging to Boaz. Just by accident, I showed up in this one field, and it happened to belong to this guy named Boaz, who happens to be the redeemer possible of our family. It's just pure happenstance, right? No. This is God doing his thing. Notice that Boaz, or Ruth, takes the initiative here. Chapter 1, there's weird initiative, not a lot of initiative going on, not active. Chapter 2, Ruth steps out and says, I'm going to take initiative, I'm going to care for my mother-in-law. Let's go! So she takes off, and she ends up in the field of a man named Boaz. Funny how God provides here, isn't it? First of all, God provided the ability to glean in the law. In fact, in Deuteronomy chapter 24, we read, when you reap the harvest in your field and forget a sheep in the field, do not go back to get it. It shall be for the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. In other places we read that you should harvest always the edge of your field. So the idea is that God has set up in his law, in his system, that people can come behind, the gleaners, those who are less fortunate, can come behind and find a way to feed themselves. It's in the law. But this is God's provision, right? God provided, by chance, that Ruth ends up in the field of Boaz. God provides. God's sovereignty is awesome. God is a great God. He does what he chooses to do in a beautiful, beautiful way. God ordained that Boaz, the Redeemer, would be here. God ordained that Ruth would find this field and follow these guys. Chapter 2, verse 4. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they said, the Lord bless you. By the both of Yahweh, just draw there. Then Boaz said to the young man who was in charge of the reapers, who is this woman? Whose young woman is this? And the servant who was in charge of the reapers said, she is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. She said, please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers. So she came, and she continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest. Now Boaz is a wealthy dude, right? He's a landowner, which means he's a wealthy dude. That's how life works. Boaz still comes from Bethlehem. He lives in town. He comes out to the field to check on things. He welcomes, he greets his workers, his laborers warmly, and they respond. So it seems to me that Boaz knows his people. Boaz isn't like, oh, those guys over there, let them do their thing, and I'll just get my harvest and be good. No, Boaz comes out and talks to people. He knows the folks, right? He recognizes that Ruth is not someone he's seen before. Something's not right here. Something is not right. That's not right. That's not right. Something is different here, and he recognizes something different. So he asks, who is this woman? Boaz cares about people. He cares about his people. And he takes care of his people, as we see much more as we keep going. Verse 8. Then Boaz said to Ruth, now listen, my daughter. Do not go and glean another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field, that they are leaving, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground before him, and said to him, why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? But Boaz answered her, all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and your mother and your native land and came to the people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and full reward be given to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Did Ruth follow God back to Israel, or did she follow Naomi back to Israel? I'll let you chew on that for a while. Then she said, I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord. For you have comforted me, spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, come here and eat some bread, and dip your morsel in the wine. So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed her roasted grain. And she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she rose again to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. But also pull out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her. Do not reproach her, do not rebuke her. Beautiful, this is beautifully written story. So she gleaned in the field until evening, and then she beat out what she had gleaned. It was about an ephah of barley. Boaz was exceedingly generous to Ruth. Exceedingly generous. It's like, okay, not only do you got to get the dregs, not only got to get the leftovers, but I'm going to make sure my guys leave good stuff for you too. Oh, and by the way, when you're gleaning, come on up, get close. Don't wait way back there. Come get close to our guys and make sure you get the good stuff, the best gleanings, the best stuff left over from what we have harvested, and a little extra that make sure you get. Boaz is so kind, so generous. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Boaz cares for Ruth because of what she has done for her daughter, because of her mother-in-law, because she is a child of God. She is one of his family. Part of the family of Elimelech, part of their family. Boaz mentions, I commented a few minutes ago, that God will take care of you. You have come under the covering of God. You're not just here in this land and hanging out with your mother-in-law. You're here under the covering of God. God has brought you here, has set you up, and he is going to be faithful to make sure you have food. And I'm going to be his instrument at this point to help you make sure you can feed yourself and your family. Beautiful man, Boaz. And she took up, this is back to verse 18, and she took up took it up, that's what she called her and went into the city. Her mother-in-law saw that what she had gleaned, and she brought out and gave her the food that she had left over after being satisfied. And her mother-in-law said to her, where did you glean today, and where have you worked? Blessed be the man who took notice of you. She said to her mother-in-law, with whom she told her mother-in-law, with whom she had been working, and said, the man's name with whom I work today is Boaz. And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, may he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness was not forsaken for the living or the dead. And Naomi also said to her, this man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers. And Ruth, the Moabite, said, besides, he said to me, you shall keep close to my young men until they have finished my harvest. And Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, lest another field you be assaulted. So she kept it close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning until the end of the barley and wheat harvests, and she lived with her mother-in-law. So for several months now, for quite a long time, harvesting barley and the wheat, Ruth has faithfully gone out and gleaned and gathered in the field of Boaz, and faithfully come back and helped her mother-in-law, that she might survive. We're talking survival, we're talking eating, right? Women can't own property this time, women can't really hold a job, they can't do legal stuff. Women in this time are especially widows, and last and the least, they're among the most overlooked population of the time. And so, this is a beautiful place. Ruth continues to be a dutiful daughter-in-law, continues to be a faithful worker, and a faithful daughter to Naomi, and a faithful worker to Boaz. Chapter 3, verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said, my daughter, should I not seek rest, that you may be well with you? Okay. Whose initiative here? Naomi, thank you. Sorry. In chapter 3, so chapter 2, Ruth takes the initiative. I'm going to go, sir. In chapter 3, Naomi takes the initiative. Naomi says to her daughter-in-law, "You have been faithfully helping me, but what happens when I'm gone? What's next? You can't do this forever. I've got a plan." This is a good mother, right? I've got a plan for you. There's this nice boy over here. Maybe not quite that, but it is kind of that way. Kind of good. But Naomi is concerned, is thinking about Ruth's future welfare, whether it's now or the time when she is gone. She wants Ruth not just to survive, but really to be happy and enjoy. Remember what she told to Orpah and Ruth before they left Moab? Go back and may you find blessing in the house of your husband. Go find a husband and live a good life. Naomi wants nothing less for Ruth here. She wants her to find a husband and have a good life. I don't think this is selfish from Naomi at all. I think this is truly Naomi thinking about Ruth. And Ruth, I want you to survive, to thrive, not just survive. I want you to go beyond. Back to 3:1. Go start again. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight on the threshing floor. Wash, therefore, and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak." By the way, this means take off your widow's clothes and put on something that says, "Hey, I'm ready to be married." That's what we should do. Sounds weird, doesn't it? But that's what she's doing. Get rid of that morning stuff, you know, the good stuff. And go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he's finished eating and drinking. By the way, this whole chapter is kind of strange. But it's a fun story. I don't really understand it all, mostly because I didn't research it because I don't really care. I'll come back to point in a minute. We'll summarize in a few minutes. How's that? Where's that? Verse 3. Wash therefore, go anoint yourself, put on your cloak, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go uncover his feet and lie down. And he will tell you what to do. And she replied, "All that you say, I will do." Isn't it a strange custom, by the way? So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law commanded. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down into the heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight, the man was startled and turned over, and behold, there was a woman at his feet. It says, just read it. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." And he said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this kindness greater than the last, in that you have not gone after young men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask. For all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight, and in the morning I will see if he redeems you. Let him do so. But if he's not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until morning." So she lay at his feet until morning, arose before one could recognize another. So it was still dark. But let it not be known that a woman had come to the threshing floor. And he said, "Bring me the garment you were wearing, and hold it out." So she held it, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her. And then she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "How did it go, my daughter?" And she told her all the man had done, saying, "These 6 measures of barley he gave me," and he said, "You must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law." She replied, "Wait, my daughter, until you learn how this matter turns out. For this man will not rest, but will settle the matter today." In short, in summary, Naomi sent Ruth to propose marriage to Boaz. Seems a little upside down, at least in my brain. It's like, wait a minute. Will you redeem me, please? Will you marry me, please? Because I have no power, no authority, no nothing. Will you please redeem me? That's basically what she did. And I love Boaz, being an honorable man, said, "Yeah!" Let's be honest. This is awesome. It's kind of cool. So Boaz is looking at Ruth and saying, one of the things he said was this is better, this, how do you say it? This faithfulness is better than the last, or something like that. This kindness is greater than the last, or the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. Boaz sees Naomi, and my guess is Naomi's a good working lady. Naomi has the ability to go after, has the right even, to go and make herself available to whatever guy is there. She has that right, but she doesn't take that right. She says, I care for my mother-in-law. I'm going to be faithful to my mother-in-law, faithful to my God, before I worry about myself. In fact, it doesn't seem that Ruth is really cared about herself at all. There's a whole story Ruth has been entirely focused on, I must help Naomi. That's been her focus, it seems, the entire story. Now Boaz says, this is awesome. This young lady she loves her mother-in-law, she serves her well. I see how she works in the field, she does that well. She has a beautiful countenance about her. She doesn't chase after the young guys, regardless of what they have. And now she's asking me to fill my duty as a redeemer. Boaz is pretty excited about this, I think. He responds positively. But then he says, wait a minute, there's another redeemer, one closer than I. So if you walk the redeemer cycle, the closest living relative is the one who has the right to redeem. So Boaz says, well, I would like to redeem, but I'm not the right guy. There's another guy. So I'll take care of this. Leave it to me, I'll take care of it. Boaz is far more concerned about Naomi and Ruth's well-being than he is about his happiness. Because really, let's think about it. If Boaz is thinking about my happiness, I like this girl, she's cute, she works hard, she's a great wife, I'm just going to go take after this, right? But he's not worried about that. He wants to make sure everything is done properly and with respect. He calls Ruth a worthy woman. All of my people know you're a worthy woman. You guys know Proverbs 31 talks about the godly woman and how she is. It's a beautiful passage. Proverbs 30 is the last. You didn't skip, I think, 1 through 6, but the rest of the verse talks about the godly wife. The worthy woman and this godly wife, it's the same Hebrew word. So in short, Boaz is saying, I see you are a godly woman. One would be great to have as my wife. Let's make this happen. But you must do it properly. So Boaz goes into action. Chapter 4. Climax of the story. Now Boaz had gone to the gate and sat down there, and behold, there was a redeemer who Boaz had spoken, came by. So Boaz said to him, turn aside, friend, sit down here. It'd be kind of funny. You're walking down, hey, buddy, come sit down. Okay. Right? I don't know, it's kind of right. Different culture. And he turned aside and sat down, and he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit down here. So they sat down too. It's a tea party. They said to the Redeemer, Naomi has come, Then he said to the Redeemer, Naomi, who has come back to the country of Moab, is selling a parcel of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. So I thought I would tell you of it and say, buy it in the presence of those here, and the presence of the elders of the people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not, tell me, that I may know, for there is no one beside you to redeem it, and I am after you. And the man said, I'll redeem it, no problem. Then Boaz said, the day you buy the field from the hand of Ruth, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance. Then the Redeemer says, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I inherit my own inheritance and take the right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. Let's skip 7 and 8 because it's a side note and I don't remember what I explained. Take off your shoes, that's what it says. Anyway, verse 9. Then Boaz said to the elders of the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech, and all that belonged to Chilion and Mahlon. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Nabon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among the brothers, and from the gate of his native place. You are my witnesses today. Then all the people who were at the gate and the elders said, we are your witnesses. May the Lord make this woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you act worthily in Ephrathah, and be renowned in Bethlehem. And may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman. Okay, this is huge, huge blessing, is it not? May this woman bring to you all the glory of Rachel and Leah without the fight. May this woman be to you as someone who will build up the house of Israel. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. And he went to her, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. And then the women said to Naomi, blessed be the Lord who has not left you without a redeemer. And may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be your restorer of life and the nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given him birth. Then Naomi took the child, and laid him on her lap, and became his nurse. And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, a son has been born to Naomi, and they named him Obed. Now, if the story stopped here, it'd be a wonderful story, wouldn't it? Here's this Moabite, a widow from Bethlehem that's gone to Moab and returned, and in a desperate situation, and God redeems her and gives her a son. This is beautiful, right? But it doesn't stop here, right? It is a beautiful story, no doubt. It's a fantastic story, but the story does not stop here. The story continues. And a son had been born to Naomi. They named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David, who is the king, the great king. At the beginning of the story, I asked the question, who's going to save Israel? At the end of the story here, I hear David is there, yes? Let's look at Matthew chapter 1, and I'm going to read a bunch of names. I think it's Matthew. There you go. If you're in Church Bible, page 807, if you'd like to follow along. I'm sorry, verse 2 of Matthew chapter 1. Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac the father of Jacob, Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers, Judah the father of Perez, we just heard about her, right? About him, back in Ruth, thank you. Perez by Zerah, and Zerah by Tamar. And Perez, the father of Hezron. Hezron, the father of Ram. Ram, the father of Amminadab. Amminadab, the father of Nahshon. And Nahshon, the father of Salmon. Salmon, the father of Boaz by Rahab. And Boaz, the father of Obed by Ruth. Obed, the father of Jesse. And Jesse, the father of David, the king. And David was the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah. And Solomon, the father of Rehoboam. Rehoboam, the father of Abijah. Abijah, the father of Asaph. Asaph, the father of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat, the father of Joram. Joram, the father of Uzziah. Uzziah, the father of Jotham. And Jotham, the father of Ahaz. Ahaz, the father of Hezekiah. Hezekiah, the father of Manasseh. Manasseh, the father of Amos. Amos, the father of Josiah. And Josiah, the father of Jeconiah and his brothers at the time of the departure from Babylon. Whew. Almost there. After the deportation to Babylon, Jeconiah was the father of Shealtiel. Shealtiel, the father of Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel, the father of Abud. Abud, the father of Eliakim. Eliakim, the father of Azor. Azor, the father of Zadok. Zadok, the father of Achan. Achan, the father of Elid. Elid, the father of Eleazar. Eleazar, the father of Matthian. Matthian, the father of Jacob. Jacob, the father of Joseph. Joseph, the husband of Mary, who was Jesus, the mother of Jesus the Christ. Okay. That's a lot of names. Read from it. In this span, a Moabite woman, a widow from Moab, is the great-grandmother of David the king. In the line of David the king is Jesus, the real king. If you follow this story, we can have 6 weeks of talking about different pieces of this story and where they land. We don't have 6 weeks, we have about 6 minutes. Maybe one more. Give me a few more than that, please. It's a beautiful story, and I hear the so what. I hear it coming, and many of you know me know that it's coming anyway. So here we go. So what? There are plenty of thoughts you can pull. You can talk about sovereignty of God. You can talk about man working along the sovereignty of God. It's a beautiful story. There were themes throughout the book. It's wonderful. It's great. You can talk about the invitation from Ruth to go away and the different invitations. I want to follow God. I don't want to follow it. You can talk about that. You can talk about Boaz, the great faithful man who has done wonderful things. You can talk about all these things, but we don't have much time. So I want to talk about the 3 main characters. Briefly, hopefully. The 3 main characters in the book. First, we have Naomi. Naomi is a widow from Bethlehem. She's a child of the covenant. She, along with her husband Elimelech, left the promised land of God during the famine to find food in Moab. Does that sound strange? I'm here in the place where God has set us, and God provided food and everything for us to get here in this promised land where He said, this is the place I will take care of you. Things are going bad, I believe. Really? It's a face slapper, isn't it? She eventually returned to Bethlehem after a bunch of stuff happening. Bitter after losing her husband and her sons, believing that God was bitter with her. At this point, she chose to identify by her circumstance rather than by her status as a child of the promise. As the story unfolds, she sees God provide for Ruth and for her, and she begins to hope again. In the end, she sees God is truly faithful and wants to bless beyond anything we can imagine. 2 Timothy 2, verse 11 to 13 says, it is a trustworthy saying, for if we die with Him, we will also live with Him. This is identity, right? This is union with Christ. If we endure with Him, we'll also reign with Him. If we deny Him, He will deny us. If we are faithless, He remains faithful, for He cannot deny Himself. God desires to bless His people. He desires for them to find rest in Him. God desires for Naomi to find rest in Him, not to find food in Moab. God desires great things for us. Naomi is like someone who's grown up in a church. She knows the truth. She's heard the truth all the time. She knows what's going on. But sometimes it's hard to live out of it. Sometimes when our well-being is in question, instead of going to God, the faithful deliverer, we go to ourselves and try to figure out how to make it work. We run to Moab. Maybe not literally run to Moab, but we run to our own things, our own, what we believe is the way to fix it. We go off to and find our identity in our jobs, or our identity in our savings accounts, or in our spouse, or in our families. We look for other things to fill what God has promised to fill. And it's easy to find identity in our circumstance, isn't it? Several years ago, after Hurricane Katrina, I had the opportunity to go down to Slidell, Louisiana, which is just east of New Orleans. The eye of the hurricane came right through there. It was pretty interesting, devastating. But I got to work in the house of a lady whose house was 4.5 feet underwater. When I got there, new drywall was up, and I got the joy of taking texture and finishing all this drywall. It was a lot of work. It was hot, it was heat. The story I want to tell you, this lady is a customer service rep somewhere, I don't remember where, but she was at work doing her thing, and people would come in after the hurricane and say, I'm blessed because I didn't get hit. Man, aren't I so blessed? I didn't get any flooding in my house. God protected me. She told me she's sitting in her trailer on her front lawn, and her house is not livable. And she's like, God, why in the world do you bless these folks and not me? I've been walking with you for years. She said, God told me, you're blessed, not because you got hit or didn't get hit. You're blessed because you're my child. I walked away from that. That was how many years ago? A long time ago. I walked away from that, and my thought is, oh, can we, church, understand that without having our house destroyed? Can we truly understand, I am a child of God, and I'm blessed because I am a child of God, not because I understand now that God has taken everything away, all I've got is God. But we understand that without losing everything. Naomi lost everything. She lost her husband, she lost her son, she lost everything. And in the end, she came back and found, I'm still a child of God. I'm a child of the promise, and God cares for me. May we find that without craziness that comes along with that. We have Ruth. Ruth, well, she's a widow from Moab. She's not a child of the promise. In fact, she's a child outside the promise. In Deuteronomy 23, we read these words, no Ammonite or Moabite may enter the assembly of the Lord, even to the 10th generation. None of them may enter the assembly of the Lord forever, because they did not meet you with bread and with water on the way when you came out of Egypt, and because they hired against you Balaam, son of Beor, from Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse you. No Moabite may stand in the assembly of God to the 10th generation. Ruth, Obed, Jesse, David. That's a really quick 10. God's desire is not to bring Israel into his fold. God desires to bring the world into his fold. God's desire is that all come to redemption, not just some. Not just the chosen handful that happen to be from the right people at the right time. Which is really good for us because there's not a whole lot of Jews in here. She clung to Naomi even after her sister-in-law left. When all the logical reasons said, I need to go home and find a husband, she clung to her mother-in-law. She clung to God, to the promise of God, with covenant language. Though a foreigner, she set out to support her mother-in-law. She worked to support herself and Naomi through gleaning. She didn't chase after a man to take the place of her late husband. but she is faithful to Naomi and to God. She showed herself faithful to Boaz through hard work and determination, and eventually she was bold enough to ask Boaz to redeem her through marriage. Ruth is like the person who comes to God later in life. Understands, man, I need something. And finds the God to be satisfying and to be whole. And embraces her with everything. Embraces God. Leaves everything behind and takes off after God. She left her family. She left her home. She left everything she knew to go to Israel. Where there's been a famine. To a people she didn't know. To a God she didn't know. Because she cared for Naomi. She gave up everything. In Luke 14, Jesus says, if anyone comes after me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. Are you holding on to something my identity is in? Whatever that something is, my job, my life, my family, my car, motorcycle, you put your own thing in there. The example of Ruth is, I'm going fully after God. Nothing else matters. We oftentimes in our lives where we need to let go of something. I know from my experience, I come to times in my life a lot, and you let go of something. God says, you're holding that too tight. Okay, yes, I will let go of that. Over and over. Give it up. Ruth also accepted wise counsel from godly people. She accepted counsel from Boaz. She accepted counsel from her mother-in-law, Naomi. She listened and she followed wise counsel. It's not always easy. Ruth gave up everything. The third character is Boaz. Boaz is a godly man. A man from Bethlehem, a close relative of Elimelech. I like Elimelech, that's a good name. One who steps up as redeemer for Naomi and Ruth. Boaz is faithful and honorable and kind. He goes out of his way to care for Ruth and provide for Naomi. In the end, he takes initiative to ensure that Ruth and Naomi are redeemed, even if it meant he could not be the redeemer. He sees Ruth's character, not her lineage. He sees Ruth as a worthy woman, not as a child of mother. He looks at her in her true identity. Boaz is a redeemer. He ensures that Elimelech's line is continued, and he truly cares for Ruth. He's not put up by the fact that she's Moab or that she's a widow. He has seen her character. He cares for Naomi and for Ruth, and sees how Ruth has provided for her family, for her household. Boaz is a redeemer. Boaz points to the redeemer. As we look at Boaz, we should think Christ. As we look at Boaz, we should say, oh, I see. There's one who has given up everything to be my redeemer, to bring me into his family, to redeem me from my mess and the junk that I have decided to jump into, or redeem me from the mess and junk that I've been born into. There's a redeemer who is there, who's waiting for us. In John 14, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. Jesus is the Redeemer. In Acts chapter 4, I'm going to turn over there a bit. If you're following along in your Bible, it's page 912, or Acts chapter 4. Starting in verse 5. This is right after Pentecost. Put you in perspective here. Pentecost happened. Peter has preached. The disciples have preached, and then they get called in by the assembly to have conversation. On the next day, all the rulers and elders and scribes gathered in Jerusalem, along with Annas the high priest, and Caiaphas, and John and Alexander, and all who were of the high priestly family. And they went and set them in the midst, and they inquired. This is says in Peter. By what power or by what name do you do this? Do you preach? Peter, filled with the Holy Spirit, and said to them, rulers of the people, elders, if we are being examined today concerning the good deed done to a crippled man, by what means is this man healed? Let it be known to all of you, to all the people of Israel, that by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whom you crucified, whom God raised from the dead, by him this man is standing before you. This Jesus is the stone that was rejected by you, the builders, which has become the cornerstone. And there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. This is the Redeemer. This is the offspring of David. This is the one, this whole thing. Remember I asked you to save Israel? It's not David. You saw that. It's Jesus. It's the true King that has come. So where are you today? Are you a long-time child of God? Been hanging out here a long time? Loving Jesus? Are you having a hard time finding meaning? Are you doing or trying to find meaning in something other than God? Come back. Trying to be self-sufficient? Come back to God. Yield your life to Him and trust. Never lose your life. It is the only place to go. Come back to God. Be the Naomi and return to Bethlehem. Return to God. And God will heal. He will come. Are you outside the promise? Have you never walked with Jesus? Are you trying to find your meaning in something else other than God? Trying to find redemption, trying to find wholeness in something other than God? Come to the cross. Jesus is waiting. He is the Redeemer, the willing, awesome Redeemer who's waiting for you to come and be part of His family. If you wait till you all put together, you won't. So come, let the Redeemer help you put things back together. Have you been faithfully following God for years and years and years? Great! That's fantastic. I love it. Who's around you that needs a Redeemer? Needs a picture of the Redeemer. Can you be a Boaz to somebody? Boaz didn't go seeking after someone to redeem. He didn't go saying, oh, listen, who's going to help now? He just looked around and said, hey, this young lady, I don't recognize her. How can I help? Is God with someone in your life? There's someone there that God is saying, hey, I need you to help. I want you to help this person. Listen. Take after him. Let God work through you to do what He's chosen to do. God is personally involved in every aspect of the story, and God is personally involved in every aspect of yours. When God works, let's listen. Long-time Christian folk, guys like me, figure out where God's working and find out how to follow Him. We're faithfully walking with God. He will show you pictures. He will show you people that you can pour into. Pour into them. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't hold back. Pour into the people that God's put in your life. Not Christian folk, not folks who know Jesus. If you don't know Jesus, come. He's right here waiting to see you. Let's pray. Dear Jesus, thank you so much that you are the Redeemer. You are the true Redeemer. You are the one who is waiting, who calls us to yourself. There's no other name under heaven by which we must be saved. There's no other name to come. There's no other way that we might enter your kingdom. Help us to follow after you. Help us to see you clearly for who you are and what that means for us. God, I pray that you give us the wisdom to see you. Give us the eyes to see you, that we might follow after. Help us to know you more as Redeemer, as friend, as brother, as husband. Help us to follow after that. Thank you for